Lights, camera, sign. Enjoy shows with performing arts interpreters. Most people can easily go to a theater and enjoy musicals. However, for deaf and hard of hearing individuals, attending without proper support can be quite a challenge. This is where performing arts interpreters come in. Performing arts interpreters aim to make theatrical performances more accessible. They help translate auditory information, such as music or spoken words, into sign language. Performing arts interpretation takes more than an understanding of sign language, though. Prior research of the performance is equally important. The interpreters need to become familiar with the story and characters. Sometimes they even attend practices to make sure their interpretation and speed match the performance. They also have to address several details during the show. For instance, when an important action takes place, it's necessary that the interpreter directs the audience's attention to the performer or a scene. This way, the audience won't miss any element of the show. All the hard work is done so that everyone can engage in theatrical activities, whether it's concerts or plays. With the effort of performing arts interpreters, the world of theater is now open for all to experience.
Welcome, everyone, to English for You. I'm Adam.
And this is Elsie.
And Elsie, I was wondering, do you enjoy going to the theater or to watch a show or a musical?
You know I do. One day I'd love to go to Broadway in New York to see a show.
Oh, me too. But what if you couldn't hear the words coming from the actors' mouths? What would you do?
Good question.
Well, everyone, today our article talks about this problem. Let's take a look and find out more. Our article starts by saying most people can easily go to a theater and enjoy musicals.
没错，然后我自己呢 my favorite musical is The Lion King. What about yours?
Lion King, that's a good one. I'd probably have to say The Book of Mormon, just because it's so funny.
OK, 所以很多人确实呢很简单的就可以到剧院去看剧，对不对？那接下来呢文章说的是what does the article say?
Well, it says, however, for deaf and hard of hearing individuals, attending without proper support can be quite a challenge. In that sentence, everyone, we saw the word individuals. And individuals are just people, each one special and not exactly the same. So an easy way to understand what would an individual be in a sentence, we could say, people are individuals with their own thoughts and feelings. Or even yet, I'm an individual and Elsie's an individual too.
是的，我们都是个人个体，对不对？所以呢这个字就可以用 individual 来说，那这个字还可以当作形容词哦，就是个人的或是个体的，所以我们可以说we all have our individual opinions， 我们都有自己个人的意见。 So how can we give help to those who have hearing problems?
That's a good question. Well, our article continues to say, this is where performing arts interpreters come in. So we see the word perform in this, and perform is to do something like singing, dancing, or acting on a stage. An example, everyone, could be last weekend, we saw a man performing magic in Xingyi.
Oh, that's right. He made that box disappear, right?
He did. It was gone in a second. And then he was doing performing arts, and that's another word we saw in that sentence. And performing arts are a form of art, such as theater, dance, and music, performed live. So an example sentence we could all use would be, the school my sister goes to has an excellent performing arts program.
好，帮同学们整理一下哦。我们说到的 perform 这个动词就是表演或演出。那在文章呢，它是现在分词做形容词的用法。那看到的 performing arts 指的就是表演艺术。那再来还有一个名词是 interpreter， 这个名词指的是译者或是口译员。那在这边指的是为表演艺术翻译的人。
But during these theater shows, everyone, interpreters come in. which means to assume a role or function, which simply means to help these people who can't hear. Performing arts interpreters aim to make theatrical performances more accessible.
OK， 那在这句里面呢，我们看到了 accessible 这个形容词啊，是可得到的、可获得的或是可用的。所以当我们说 something is accessible， 那就是某事物是可以取得、获得的。像是呢，我们可以用 accessible 来形容 location， 也就是一个地点。所以当我们说这个地方是一个 accessible location， 那就是易到达的地点。那刚刚呢，我们有说到 perform 是个动词，代表表演。那 performance 也就是在字尾加上 ance， 那就是个名词，指的是表演本身。So, can you tell us how they make the performances more accessible?
Yeah, sure. Well, it says they help translate auditory information, such as music or spoken words, into sign language.And everyone, in that sentence, we also hear and see the word translate. I'm sure most of you might know Google Translate, but translate means changing words from one language into another language. Elsie always has to, help me translate the menu for me when we go out to eat.
Yes, I do, and I find it so annoying.
Well, hey, I do appreciate it, but, all these people who can't hear also really appreciate these sign language translators. So thanks, you guys, for making it accessible to them.
没错，那我们这边看到的 translate 这个动词就是翻译 translate something into something else 那就是将点点点翻译为点点点比如说 translate English into Chinese 那就是将英文翻译为中文那再来啊你把字尾的 e 给拿掉加上 or 你就会看到 translator 这个名词那它特别指的是文字上面的翻译那我们刚刚呢也有提到一个名词是 interpreter 好这个名词呢它比较指的是口语上面的翻译两个不太相同那这些表演艺术的译者们需要将 auditory 听觉的资讯翻译成手语好这个是一个 important job
It's a very important job and these interpreters they just can't just change it from one word to another word and think maybe the audience is going to understand. They have to know a lot more about the emotions of what's going on in, let's say, the musical or the show. So, everyone, performing arts interpretation takes more than an understanding of sign language, though.
OK, 那接下来呢，我们整理一下刚刚看到的名词 interpretation. 好，它指的就是翻译。OK, so they, 也就是 these interpreters must be really fast and skilled at interpretation, right?
Exactly, but not just fast. Our article says prior research of the performance is equally important.
没错 prior 这个形容词呢就是事前的或是预先的 prior research 是什么东西呢指的是研究跟调查所以对这些表演艺术的翻译人员来说啊事前也就是表演前的研究是非常非常重要的So do they have to know every little detail about the musical?
Wow, you nailed it. It's not as easy as, like I said, just copying what the actors is saying. They really need to know what's going on in the musical or in the play. And so the interpreters need to become familiar with the story and characters. And there we see familiar, which means something that you know well and recognize easily.The phrase we see a lot is familiar with something, and as a native speaker, we'll say this quite often, like I'm familiar with something, or I'm familiar with, her, I'm familiar with it. And what that means is knowing and understanding it because you've seen it or experienced it before. So an example for familiar could be, or for familiar with some things, we could say, the park looked familiar, so I knew I was close to his house. And then familiar with, we would say, he's familiar with the rules of the games, so he can play.
Familiar 这个形容词代表熟悉的 Be familiar with something 那就是熟悉某事物 So these interpreters are almost like the actors
Yeah, they really are almost like the actors themselves. So sometimes they even attend practices to make sure their interpretation and speed match the performance. Wow, everyone. I mean, these people really care about the quality of the show. You know, they don't want any person who is hard of hearing to miss out what's going on.
They do a lot more than what I first thought they did.
Yeah, and it says they also have to address several details during the show.
What are these details?
Okay, I won't keep you waiting. Here we go. For instance, when an important action takes place, it's necessary that the interpreter directs the audience's attention to the performer or a scene. And in that we see takes place. And when something happens or something occurs at a specific time or location, that is takes place. So you could say my soccer game takes place at 7 o'clock every night on a Tuesday.
所以 take place 就是发生或者是事件的开始。那我们刚刚讲到呢 perform 是动词 performer 加了 er 那就是变名词表演者非常简单的变化字尾加上 er 就可以了。
Right, and it continues to say, this way the audience won't miss any element of the show. And when we say any element of the show, it just means element means is a basic part of something. So an example I could say is, it is important to remember that the key element of the story is the importance of caring.
故事里面重要的要素就是要好好的关心照顾他人。好，所以要素呢这个名词我们用的就是 element 这个字。那有了译者们呢，观众就不会错过演出中的任何一个 element 任何一个要素。
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to miss any important element of the show. So, what do? All the hard work is done so that everyone can engage in theatrical activities, whether it's concerts or plays. We see engage in. Engage in is to participate or become involved in an activity. So simply put, it's to do something. And then we see concert, and concert is a live music performance. So an example would be, hey, do you want to go with me to the Blackpink concert next month, Elsie?
I know you've wanted to go to their concert for a long time.
Oh, yes, I do.
Concert 这个名词呢，就是演唱会或是音乐会。所以当我们说要不要去一场演唱会，要不要参加演唱会或音乐会的话，你可以用 go to， 好 ，go to a concert. Would you like to go to the concert with me? 好，你可以这样去邀请对方。那再来呢，在我们的演唱会或是音乐会里面啊，里面都是 live 演出的，对不对？所以我们就可以说里面有 live music， 好，就是现场演出的音乐。那再来，如果是一个户外的演唱会或是音乐会的话，我们可以用 outdoor 来形容，那就会是 an outdoor concert.
Right, and our article finishes up by saying, with the effort of performing arts interpreters, the world of theater is now open for all to experience.
That's right, and this brings us to the end of today's article.
That's right. And what an interesting job that these interpreters have. And they have to do so much than what we initially thought they had to do.
Right. Would you like to be one?
I don't know. I think it does take a lot of work, and I don't know if I'm that quick at understanding things.
And they have to face a lot of challenges, I bet.
Oh, they do. Well, everyone, that brings us to our For You chat question. What other challenges do you think interpreters might face while interpreting live performances?
Wow, like I said, they must have a lot of challenges. So for me, I think being able to convey the emotions.
Yes, exactly.
It's very hard, very difficult.
Right, with just using your hands to convey those emotions. And also your face, you know. We're not talking about blind people. We are talking about the hard of hearing and of deaf people. So they can see you.
Yeah. So do they have to do it with their facial expressions?
I'm sure that comes into
and
it.
their body language.
Exactly.
And their sign language and their gestures, everything.
everything goes into it. And so that's what I'm sure when they're studying the play or the theater performance, they're really understanding what's going through the actor's mind. Another difficulty I might think is, what if it gets too noisy, right? And, they can't maybe hear, or there's technical problems on the play or in the theater. That might be a challenge. How do you overcome that?
Yeah, everything's live, so they must be really, really stressed.
Right. You don't get a take two or, a redo. So tell us, everyone, what you guys think. How might they be facing challenges? I hope you enjoyed the article today. My name is Adam.
And I'm Elsie.
And we'll see you later.
Bye-bye.
Vocabulary Review. Individual. Tommy prefers to work as an individual rather than in a group for his projects. Perform. Clarissa usually comes here to listen to the music, but tonight she'll perform a song herself. Translate. Translate. Penny's mother translates books and magazines from Italian into English for work. Familiar. I've been to Tainan many times for business trips before, so the city feels familiar. Element. There are pop art elements in this artist's style, but her work is still very unique. Concert. My favorite singer is going to have a concert next month. Let's buy tickets.
智慧小补帖
Interpreter. Accessible. Auditory. Prior. Research.